Welcome to Faithful Film Fanatic, where today I'm going to review the film Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior, which was released in 1981. I felt like George Miller learned a lot from his 1979's Mad Max, but not enough. Like, for starters, the dialogue wasn't as bad in this film as the first one. The dialogue in this film makes sense and flows really well, but it still wasn't interesting. The actors had much better chemistry in this film, and because of that, they were able to give off a much better performance and were more convincing in their roles. The characters weren't as painful and unrealistically stupid in this film, like the previous one, I felt like, but it still lacked a lot of character development. And for that, I lacked interest in the majority of the characters in this film. The action in this film being implied is at a very minimum, unlike the previous one. We get to see the action sequences between the fights, gunfights, and chasing scenes, and none of it felt like it was being unfinished. But only a few of the action sequences I felt like were like, whoa, that is amazing. Not enough to enjoy a 90-minute movie. I will give George Miller credit to this film. This film is definitely more creative and thought out than the last one. There's a reason behind everything, or if not everything, majority of it. The story in this film is quite obvious and clear. There is no confusion to what the story of the film is or what it is trying to tell you that I'm watching. And I want to have respect for this film because it has an audience and that audience enjoys this film and wants like it, but the audience for this film is so little. With a $4 million budget, this film couldn't even make a quarter of what the last film made. This film has wonderful moments in it, but they don't last very long, and there are far in between. This film didn't feel like an apocalyptic world. This film lacked being unique and standing out. Better written characters, but still not very likable, and don't have any character development. The film's overall tone made me feel weird, uneasy, and honestly, way too uncomfortable. In the beginning of this film, there's a narration from Harold Bagnigant, who was quite honestly my personal favorite part of the film. I wish that there were more scenes of him narrating because I just loved listening to him in this movie. But for whatever reason, he's only in it for first couple minutes in the beginning and first couple minutes in the ending. Mel Gibson, who played the character Mad Max, and then Bruce Spence, who played the character the Gyro Captain, yes, the name in this film are still kind of crazy. They were very well together, had lots of good chemistry and a few funny comedic moments that I really enjoyed. The chase scene on the highway towards the later half of the film was really fun to watch and had some really good moments. But other than those few things that I really, really enjoyed about this movie, the film lacked its feeling like it was supposed to be apocalyptic. The only thing that felt apocalyptic about it was them constantly reminding the audience through the dialogue that the story is apocalyptic. And some of the vehicles, like the helicopter, was really cool, and it did look like something someone would make in an apocalyptic world. But other than that, that set aside, it just felt like a racing movie meets the Wild West. The setting of the film in the desert, I thought, gave it more of a Western vibe than an apocalyptic vibe. Because of that, I had trouble believing this film, and story was really. The story of this film is basically about Max getting a supply of gas. But the way the story was set up and built, it felt like the same Western story that we have seen several times before, in the sense that there are outlaws demanding something, and the homeland or city of people have to protect what is theirs from these dangerous groups of outlaws. I felt like this movie took a lot out of your normal Western movies, which didn't make sense to me if this movie is supposed to be apocalyptic. So it most definitely failed, in my opinion, every way of being unique. The film did have some better written characters than the first Mad Max film did. However, the characters were still awful. I had the same issues with the characters in this film as I did in the last one, in the sense that who are these characters? There was no character development. Nobody in this film ever changes. Everyone in this film's like robots. They are exactly the same throughout the entire film. Because of that, I found the characters honestly quite unlikable. My biggest problem with this film was the way it made me feel uncomfortable about myself, with myself. Some may even argue and say that that is good writing. And if you are like that, then you actually might enjoy this film because this film does have a way of making you feel certain ways. But I didn't. I didn't like how the bad guys were dressed in what looked like hockey uniforms and clothes that looked like you would wear role playing with someone before having sex with that person. The way the bad guys in this film are dressed like that and treat all the women in this film like sex slaves more times than not, I was honestly disturbed and disgusted at the same time. I felt like the way this film was written and the way the characters were dressed up, I was watching someone's weird, kinky, sexual fantasy that was of some kind of cosplay of some kind. And I did not enjoy it one bit. As you probably guessed it, I was not a huge fan of this film. I would, however, love to hear your thoughts. Please message me on Facebook or TikTok at Terry Roy, Faithful Film Fanatic on Twitter, Red Hunter underscore 16 on Instagram. If you are a diehard fan of the Mad Max films, I would love to have you on my podcast in the near future and have a fun debate over these films. If that interests you, please, again, message me. Have any films you would like me to review? I would love to hear them. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and God bless you all.